Hi, welcome back to Animation Teacher. In today's quick lesson, I'm going to show you guys how to set up your backgrounds for your scenes or for setting up just background animation in Harmony. Now, the first thing we're going to have to do is actually launch Photoshop, and you basically import all the images that you have. In this case, I have three-layer images, all separated here in Photoshop. And we have to prep it so that Harmony can recognize each one of these elements as a separate layer. So the first thing we'll do is we're going to create three different groupings. And we're going to simply put each one of the layers in their own groups. Now, if you want, you can name the groups the same thing as the element. So in this case, if you look closely, I have the hyphen. It says tree hyphen in hyphen sun. Now, Harmony doesn't really like hyphens, so you can either do an underscore or you can just do a space. And I'm just going to put tree space in space sun. And I'll do the same thing here. Get rid of my hyphens. Tree in sun. And down here I'll put stream. So you have the three layers into three different group folders. Next, all you have to do is crop. Now, the reason why we crop it, no, where is my cropping tool? Huh. There, sorry. I don't know why it took me so long. So there's your crop, and just crop it. And then you save. So the reason why you crop it is in case you have a really long background, it's going to bring in the long background. But if this is the format you want it in, just hit the crop button. It'll also save for space as well. So I'm going to close that, and we're going to launch Harmony now. Now every studio has its own way of importing new scenes. So I'm just going to create a new scene here. I'll call it BG sample, and I'll just create a new scene. Oh, opened up in a different screen. Let me just pull it over. So you can basically have an existing animation open and it'll do the same thing, or you'll do the same thing. You're just going to go File, Import Images, and we're going to locate BG example. We're going to locate the PSD file. So I'll open that. Now it's going to ask you if you want to create a single layer named, and then you can name it. But I already took the time to name my layer, so I'm going to put create layers based on file names. Keep it at original bitmap. You can leave these as well, and you're going to hit OK. Now, Harmony is going to recognize immediately whether or not it has separated layers. You can flatten everything, but I don't want to do that today. I'm going to separate the layers. The transparency you can leave straight. So it's going to come in like this. Now if you look over at my node view here, they've actually separated it into three different drawings. So as I highlight it, you can see it being selected there. I'm just going to delete this extra drawing here. That's the one that comes in by default. So when you actually have everything all set up like this, the first thing you want to do is, first off, take a look at your timeline. You'll see that it's only exposed only in the first frame. So you can go ahead and extend that by selecting the last frame and hitting F5. So that'll extend your exposure. Second thing you want to do is select the three of these, and you're going to Alt-Shift P to create the pegs here, or Control-Shift P to create the pegs for each individual one, and then you're going to select it all and hit Control P to create a master or parent peg for the background. So I'll call this master BG peg, and I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to hit Control Shift G, and that's going to package it into a nice, neat background group. You can go ahead and give it a peg as well if you'd like. So inside here now you have a nicely organized group of backgrounds. Next thing you want to do is make sure you set the composite to pass through in case you have any parallaxing Z depth stuff. Now for some reason, sometimes Harmony will import it in some wonky way and your node view will look like this and it's all messed up. So an easy way to organize is to highlight it all and select this order down or order up node view. I personally like the order down. The settings are usually pretty good as is, and there you have it. It's organized again. Now, you might notice inside the stage the resolution isn't very good. Now I know these two didn't have the best resolution to begin with, but this is actually just an OpenGL view. Like always, if you want the full render, you hit this render view button here, and it's going to give you a nicely rendered picture and background. So the next thing you want to do is obviously frame the background the way you want it. So I actually wanted this a little bit closer because I'm going to do a slight parallax animation. So I'm going to move this over here, and I'll move this here like so, and I'm just going to frame it like this. Now just in case you need the image to be full resolution while you animate it, because it's kind of hard to see the edges of these drawing or pictures, simply click the drawing itself and hit Control Q. I don't know why Control Q does this, but as a default it pulls up this bitmap image quality meter, which you can crank up to the max so you can see it more clearly. You can also go to where was it? View, bitmap file quality, and do it that way as well. Now, depending on what kind of GPU your computer has, even if you do this, it might dumb it back down to a lower resolution if your computer can't handle it. So just a warning about that. Alright, so let's get to animating. I'm going to turn on my animation running dude here, and I'm going to hit F6. Actually, let me collapse this folder. Let's just do it right on the top here, and F6. Right? So if I've keyed the start and the end position. Now my end position, I actually want to shift this over, so I'm simply hitting Shift right on my arrow key here. So I'll parent up and I'll shift right on my arrow key here. Okay, so I'm just going to toggle between the two here, and I'm just going to slide that over, and we'll get our nice little parallaxing effect. Now, this might be a little much. I just wanted I just want to exaggerate this so I can show you what that looks like for multiple planes here. And I'm just going to tween this, Control K, and we'll just go ahead and tween that. It's actually not quite working very well. This is moving way too fast. So it's a bit of trial and error. I'm just going to play that again. Alright, so that's okay, I suppose. Now, there's a few other cool things that you can do with the panning background. So right now it's just kind of revealing the stream here. So that's fine if you want that. I'm going to save that. Actually, no, I won't even bother. So that's one way to do your parallaxing tweens. The second way to do it, I'll show you what that looks like all broken down. So each one of these backgrounds has been moved individually at different increments. Okay, so if you want to try it like that, that's probably probably the easiest way. Now, the harder way to do it, but a little bit more fun, is to do it in Z depth. So all you do is you got to make sure that you pull up your coordinates up here so you can see the Z depth. So the first thing I'm going to do, and if you can't find it, all you do is you right click in this gray area and you select coordinates and it'll show up. So the first thing we do is on our first key, I'm going to set the stream, right? I'm going to set the stream all the way back. So I'm going to put it to 5B. That's really far back. So it's actually shrunken in size because I pushed it so far back. So I'm just going to enlarge it a little bit more. The midground I'll leave as a midground, so at 0. And then the shrub, maybe I will put, let's say 0.5. Okay, so again, it's shifted over a little bit. Oops, sorry. See how it's magenta here? I moved the wrong one. It has to be yellow. Make sure you have the peg selected. 0.5, oops, 0.5 B for back, or sorry, 0.5 F. Alright, so now I have it selected. You might be saying, it's kind of hard to tell. Well, if you go up to the top view here, you'll actually see this is the plane, the camera plane at 0, and then this is our stream, the main background here. This is the 0 z-axis, and then this is the shrub. It's slightly in front. So that's the separation on the Z depth. Now, when I said you can have a little bit of fun, what I meant was you can actually show it in perspective. So this is the perspective view. If you hold down Alt and Control, or Alt and Shift, and if you haven't played around with this view, it's actually quite a bit of fun. So I'm going to zoom out here so you can actually see there's a plane here. So holding down Alt and Alt and Control, you can actually rotate this in Z depth. So if you're used to playing around with things that are flat in After Effects, this is basically the same thing. So the idea is that the parallax is happening naturally here from the depth of the distance created in our Z depth here from our tree. Okay, so really all you would have to do is just either rotate the camera or pan it, and you'll get that natural parallax effect. So let's try to animate that. So we have the first key and we have our last key here. So on our one major thing here is we actually need a camera. In the node view, we're going to pull up our camera. We're going to give it a camera peg here, and we are going to animate our camera. So our camera, we'll have it start here, and we'll just simply pan it over to the other side. So I'm just going to hit Shift here. Oh, you know what? Let us move this further like that. Okay. All right, so that's going to be our animation there. So very subtle. And I'm going to tween this now, and it's going to create a natural parallax. Okay, based off the distance. Now you can't really see it on the shrub in the front. So what you can do, without changing any of the camera work, you can actually, all you'd have to do is bump this forward into perspective. You don't even actually have to key this. You can just have it still. You don't even have to animate this. So with this, if I simply move this depth to, let's say, 2F, and then we'll just reposition it up here, for example, and we move the camera, you'll see that the parallax is more pronounced because I've shifted it way far in front now. So let's have a look at, let's have a look at this. So it's way far in front. Okay. Now this works obviously with camera zooms as well. So let me just play this one more time. So here's the parallax as is there. Now, what if you decided this is your first frame and then you wanted to zoom in? Then all you would have to do is go like this and you get that parallax effects happening for you. So Control K and you get a natural parallax effects. All right. So I think that basically does it. You can get even more fancy by rotating your picture element. But I'll show you that real quick. But that basically wraps up our lesson. You're going to take this transform tool, or sorry, rotate tool, and you're going to basically, oops, sorry, that's not it. You're going to take this, and we're going to rotate this. Where is that? Oh, okay. So it's not showing up. You'll see what I was looking for. It's not showing up because your peg elements actually have to be set to 3D path. Enable 3D. Ah, there it is. Okay, so 3D path, enable 3D. There we go. Now, yeah, okay. So now you can rotate it in the Y depth here. All right. So technically, you can build 3D buildings as well if you set it up like this. What that allows you to do really is start to animate forests coming towards the screen if you want more convincingly. So it would basically pan around like that and zip off screen. So imagine, if you will, like hundreds of trees, and then all you're doing really is like animating this, zooming past, and then as you're as you're rotating the y-axis, you're trucking the camera in, and that allows you some really dynamic 3D looking environments. So that basically does it. I'm really not going to bother to save. That was loud. Not going to bother to save. That basically is how we would set up backgrounds. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. It was longer than I expected, but hope it was helpful. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.